What's going on, everybody? It's be your boy DJ Anonymous with another episode of Sports Biz Music, the podcast. And we're going to do something different today, y'all, because I'm not in my mini studio today. There's been a lot going on this week. So that's why I've been kind of late. Well, I've been late to this week for the recap for last week college football and the first week of the NFL. There's been a lot going on, but I promise y'all it's gonna be better quality and better and more in depth next week as we recap this current week of college football. And all right, if y'all hear noise in the background or whatnot, I'm on my way to work right now. But this is how much I'm dedicated to y'all. I told y'all, I promised y'all that I was gonna at least do this weekly. Because the fact that I love football, I love sports, and especially when basketball and hockey, and then when the baseball playoffs start, I'm going to also talk about them sports as well. But for now, to get me in the rhythm, I'm gonna talk about college football and the NFL. So on that note, it's gonna be kind of hard because I already have my computer on me, and even though I have my phone, I'm driving, so I can't really like be looking on my phone and trying to preview different matchups and everything this week, different games this week. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna talk about the Dolphins game last week and preview the game this week, and then also I'm gonna talk about the Hurricanes game last week and talk about the game this week, and a whole bunch of sort of stuff in between. In my opinion, so far of the college football season, since we already in week 3. So for that being said, let's talk about the University of Miami. Let's talk about the U. And also, let me talk about my real quick too. I'm gonna talk about FIU, my alumni. That's where I graduated. And most people, y'all do know that I graduated from FIU. If y'all don't know, I'm an alumni. I love that school. Really love that school. Appreciate that school. Only because they was the only school that gave me a chance. Because I started off going to community college when I first got out of high school. Because I didn't really do good on the test. I'm not really a great test taker, but I was an honor roll student. I was a 3.3, GPA student at Pace. But shout out to Pace, shout out to the Pace family. I'm going to the homecoming game next month. But out of all the schools I applied to when I was trying to transfer out from my community college, FIU was like the one I got accepted in, the only one I got accepted in, honestly. And UM will always be like my main dream school. Cause I grew up a football fan of UM, but also growing up, learning more about the college, I did want to go to UM for the sports management program, but it's so expensive. Like, you literally need like 3 different like scholarships to even pay for UM. That's how much expensive UM is. Like, if people don't know, that's why UM is very. First of all, UM is a private school, and second of all, that's why UM is very small in terms of enrollment because the cost is like, how can I compare? Let me like compare the two. So UM is like, compared to FIU is like the 1%, and FIU is like the the middle class, sort of kind of high middle class. But like everybody is, it don't matter demographic. I mean UM is like that too, but it's a higher class. Well, FIU is more like not saying anybody could go there, especially now it's harder to get into FIU now because it's becoming a prestige university when it comes to education. But you can get accepted more at FIU than at UM. You know what I'm saying? And it's a public school, it's a public institution. So that's how I compare the two. I love UM. One day, hopefully, I get like an honorary doctorate or something like that, or I just go for like a certificate of some sort at University of Miami one day. But FIU is my alumni, and I love them dearly. So, for that being said, they did their thing against Central Michigan. I think they beat them 52-24 or 52. Yeah, I think it was like 52-24, I believe. And I was watching some of the game, and I told y'all the last couple episodes that it's so hard watching all these games, especially when you have like one TV, because like a team like FIU, they play mostly on ESPN Plus most of the time. Even though they play on CBS Sports, because they in the Conference USA, and Conference USA got that contract with CBS Sports. About 75% of their games is gonna be ESPN Plus. So, like for me, it's like if I had the choice, I wish I can watch both games at the same time. But me loving football, I try to watch every game as I can. Plus, UM was on ESPN Plus too as well, but they was playing FAMU, and I knew that was gonna be a blow up. No disrespect to FAMU. FAMU, y'all gonna have a great team. But let me talk about FIU real quick. But FIU, the program is coming. They coming. I like the quarterback Jenkins. That boy's gonna be deadly. As a matter of fact, in my college football 25 dynasty with that current team, we went to the playoffs. I ain't gonna lie, I put it on what's that called? Not freshman. Was it freshman? It was one of them varsity. One of them. It was one of them difficulties because it was hard, but we reached the college playoffs. Pretty much almost every year. But on his last year, his senior year in the game, we went undefeated, but we went to the Bahamas Bowl because we was in Conference USA. But I had moved on to the Big 12 and all that. But we'll get into that later. I'll probably talk about my dynasty mode and stuff like that. FIU, even though I haven't played in the league. But anyway, FIU looking real good. I'm gonna try to go to a few games this year, a couple games this year. So yeah, they play FAU this week. We better beat FAU. FAU don't look good this year, honestly. FAU owned us for like the last 10 years, it feel like. But I feel like FIU have a better team this year. So I like us to beat FAU in the Don Shula Bowl. I like to be 49-35. Even though FAU offense hasn't really been like how it usually be. It's a rivalry game, so I feel like it's gonna be a shootout. I feel like the teams know each other very well, especially a lot of local talent from the tri-counties, from Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Monroe County, Key West, Naples, all that, Collier County, like. So it's gonna be a lot of like familiar faces. So I feel like it's gonna be a shootout. But I like FIU winning 49-35. But I was very impressed. We lost Indiana. Good. I feel like Indiana's gonna be like I told y'all, Indiana's gonna be a good mid-tier team in the Big Ten, especially now with all the additions. So it's not really a shame that we lost to a good Indiana team. So I feel like we could win. We could possibly win 10 games this year, plus a championship in Conference USA. So let's see about FIU. Shout out to the Golden Panthers. Pause up. So let's talk about UM. They did their thing. They beat FAMU. I think it was 59-9 or 59-6, as I'm trying to remember. Cam Ward did his thing. I think he had 3 or 4 touchdowns. The defense, they impressed me even more. Even though it's an FCS team, you still have to. They still college football players. Like they still play the game. And FAMU is going to be a great team this year in their division, in their in their conference, in their FCS. I feel like they gonna win out because they so talented. Their offensive line is really good. Their D line is really good. Compared to everyone else, in the SWAT and pretty much not much like maybe majority of the FCS. I like FAMU to go all the way and win the SWAT and also win the Celebration Bowl. I kind of wish they could go into the FCS playoffs. I think they went in a couple years ago, and I think they made it to the second round. But shout out to the Rattlers. I gotta shout them out anyway because my wife went there, so that's her alumni. So shout out to the Rattlers. But you won, y'all did your thing. Now let's talk about y'all game this week. Y'all played Ball State. Just like what Mario Cristobal said in his press conference this past, like a few days ago, every game is not going to be easy. Now, when I see the schedule and I see this team how they are built down, I'm like, this should be a cakewalk. But I also did say that there are going to be a couple games that we cannot sleep on, right? So, let's talk about Ball State, and let's talk about the MAC in general. If y'all know, we're going to talk about the NIU and Notre Dame. NIU upset Notre Dame. It was 21-14, I believe. Was it 21-14? No, it was 16-14. I'm trying to remember the scores, y'all, out, looking on my phone. So, basically, when I was watching some of the highlights of some of the game, basically NIU just ran the ball, and it was much more physical than Notre Dame. So, I've seen some of Ball State this year. Like I said, they play like smaller schools, so they was on ESPN Plus as well. Only seen maybe a couple snaps of them. And Mario Cristobal was talking about how big they are, how physical they are. And when I was watching some of the game, I noticed that the O-line is kind of big. So that's something to watch this week as far as like matchups, like the D-line versus the O-line. So that's something to watch. Also too, the MAC is always for some reason the MAC always like they always upset like the top tier teams. It don't matter what team it is. It could be Central Michigan. I remember they upset the Pittsburgh like was it Central Michigan or Western Michigan? One of them schools they upset at Pittsburgh a few years ago. You see NIU they upset Notre Dame a few years ago. I mean, well, not a few years ago, last week, this past week. It's a few other teams that upset big name teams in the past 5 to 10 years. So the MAC they are known for that, but also too, quick side note. Remember I told y'all I think it was week 1 or week 2. That I said that the MAC used to be that conference where you could name about maybe 4 or 5 teams go like 8, 9, or 10 games. And I feel like this year the MAC is going to be like that. They going back to being that group of 5. Back in the day it wasn't even called group of 5. It was called like mid-tier conference, like in D1 or whatever. But they got group of 5, and I feel like the MAC could potentially be the best group of 5 conference in the NCAA right now. Just based off like the upset with NIU, with Notre Dame, and just like the talent that they have. Bowling Green, they almost upset Penn State, but Penn State escaped 34-27. So it's like these teams are very, very, very talented. And of course, when you talk about the NIL, the the conferences that I feel like will benefit the most is like a conference like the MAC, because the Mac always, get talent, especially down here in Florida. Like, I know a few teammates that went to Bowling Green, that went to Northern Illinois, that went to University of Ohio, that went to some of these Mac schools. So like Toledo, so that they always they love to recruit down here in Florida. So especially with the NIL right now, they can recruit, at least get a lot of, 3-star, talent from down here, because that's what they do. They get a lot of one, one to 3-star talent down here, and you see it on the field. Like, and some of them boys, or majority of them boys, be looking like 5-star when they go over to them schools up north, in the Midwest, in the middle of the country. So, shout out to the Mac, but to get back to the preview, I still like UM, despite of overlooking. I feel like Mario finally built a team that's designed for him, that understand him, um, that gets him. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like just by even looking at the team for the last couple weeks, I'm like, this is officially Mario team. He got his recruits that he recruited. He got the players that he wanted. It's looking like Mario, when he was at FIU, when he was at, University of Oregon. Like, what I'm saying? This looked like a Mario team, very disciplined, very physical, like have high intensity, what I'm saying? Very exciting. So I like them to beat Ball State. I'm gonna give Ball State their respect. I like them to beat them 45 to like maybe 17. Only because that, it's a MAC school, and for some odd reason the MAC schools always do good against the bigger schools, against the Power Five. So, but I like the end result to be 45-17, University of Miami. All right. So that's pretty much like my preview for the games, like, well, for UM and FIU. I know Wisconsin play Alabama this week. I think I'm gonna go upset. I like Wisconsin winning 24-20. It's gonna be a very physical game. I mean, it's one of them games that's like it's a coin toss. But I like Wisconsin 24-20. I also like Memphis to upset FSU. Yes, it's an upset, but not really, because Memphis is one thing. Shout out to, was it RJ Young? I've been following him for like some time now, for some years right now, and one thing he said that's true. University of Memphis, they're a group of 5 team, but they never look like a group of 5 team. That's why I was so surprised that they didn't even just at least try to join the Big 12, or you know what I'm saying? Because I know the ACC wanted to get Memphis. I feel like we should still get Memphis as the ACC conference. But Memphis is one of them teams that's looking very, very, very viable right now. Like, they looking very like attractive to a lot of teams. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pac-12 try to get them as well, which we're gonna talk about in a few minutes. But I like them to beat FSU. I think Memphis. I was watching them last week. They got too much firepower. Their running game looks so sweet. So, and FSU is just. I think they one of the last. I think 5. I think they like the last one of the last teams against the run. I think they rank like 125th, 126th, or something like that. But they're horrible against the run. So my betters, my DFS betters, like, if y'all player props, if it's available, I'll go over all the running backs for Memphis against this FSU team. I know it's gonna be up in Tallahassee, but come on now, like, FSU, y'all better win. Because if y'all don't win, man, I'm going to be roasting y'all, and then we going to be talking about y'all schedule next week because y'all could potentially go 0-7. Y'all could potentially go 0-7 because if you look at the ACC conference, in general, like for example, shout out to my dog, my homeboy. I told him about the SEC. The SEC is top heavy. He keep saying that, all the mid-tier SEC teams are dangerous. Them boys, the SEC is top heavy. You have Tennessee. And I'm just talking about this year and probably like the last 5 years. You have Tennessee, Bama, Georgia. It's not even in no order because you already know Georgia number one. But it's Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, now Texas. That's it. And maybe Ole Miss, but Ole Miss always looks so damn good in the beginning of the season because they be playing these sorry teams, either these FCS teams or like a mid-tier team from like Conference USA. So they always gonna look good, and then like they schedule for the most part in the last few years, they always end up playing like a Vanderbilt, you know what I'm saying, or like an Arkansas where they know they can score on them. Like they always play like teams that have no defense, and then when they get in the gut of their schedule, when they play like the Bamas, I mean they upset the Bama a couple times, here and there, but in the last 10 years, but it's just like when are y'all gonna when y'all gonna finally go over the hump, Ole Miss? Like I've been watching college football my whole life, and Ole Miss is always them teams that can potentially win a national championship, can potentially go undefeated, or even go to a few big name bowl games every year, or at least every other year. But when y'all get in them big games, when y'all have the momentum and y'all the hunted, y'all fold. So let's just see about Ole Miss. But for now, it's Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Bama. I'm only putting Bama on that top four because of everything they've done in the past. Right now, Bama could fall off too. It could really be dead as be three teams. And Missouri people, I'm even up on Missouri this year, but Missouri got to show me. You know what I'm saying? They got to show me that they really hit. So yeah, so like speaking of that, the reason why I even said that because California beat Auburn, and to go back to the FSU point, the ACC ain't sweet now. The ACC is not sweet. The ACC is a good conference. It's a great conference. Like the ACC has the potential to have at least by the end of the year probably have maybe a couple in the top 10, and then like 5 or 6 in the top 25. You gotta think about it now. A lot of them play each other this year unless they go to the championship. Like for example, Clemson. Clemson can win out, but they don't play you in. You know what I'm saying? Like Miami, we don't play Clemson. We don't play. I don't think we play North Carolina or NC State. We don't play like the top dogs. You know what I'm saying? So we play Louisville and we play Georgia Tech and we play Syracuse. And then like I told you, like I said, even I'm not overlooking California because California, they decent. They look alright. You know what I'm saying? They're probably projected to be one of the bad teams in the ACC, but they look alright. They look alright. I'm not gonna say they look good because they beat Auburn. Maybe Auburn's just garbage this year. Maybe they just not good this year. But the ACC is not gonna be a sweet conference for this season on forward. So FSU, y'all better win this week. Cause if y'all don't win, boy, I'm gonna be on y'all ass every week. When I say every week, every week. What else games coming on this week? It's not really that many. Like, I mean, Missouri, Boston College is gonna be a good game. And boy, if Boston College beat Missouri, I'm definitely gonna be in my homeboy head. Boy, I'm gonna be like, hey. So it's about that, bro. The SEC, bro, they just top heavy, dog. And then I want to make this note too as well. When you have the BCS, and then when you have a 14 playoff, and then when people like the media, and I'm part of the media now, I guess, but when you have like a conglomerate of people talking about the SEC because of all the teams, and they overhype the SEC. Yes, and I'm from the South, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of hurt when I say this, but like me knowing what's going on, I'm like, the SEC is really top heavy. Cause you really think about it, even it was some years where like Arkansas or Ole Miss or Texas A&M, you know, or even Florida one of them years, when they was good here and there. Like I'm not talking about I'm talking about like after Tim Tebow era. I'm talking about after that era, after the Tim Tebow era, after the Steve Spurrier era, um, Urban Meyer era. Like they was probably good maybe a couple times. You really only had like 3 to 4 teams. So like of course when the BCS come up, you know, I mean, and LSU is weird because LSU is becoming like one of them teams where, and I'm gonna talk about this in my next podcast because you know I'm on my way to work, so I'm not gonna have time because like I said I can go hours and hours and hours to talk about this, but LSU can be one of the top hitters, but they not consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like it was 2018, 2019, you know, when they had Joe Burrow and them boys, and that's like to me, I ain't gonna lie, that's like a top 5 team. They up there with like the USC's, the Miami Hurricanes, the Florida Gator teams, the Texas teams. Like they up there. Only because I believe they was the only team in like history to beat literally the top 10. They literally beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I think that year. Like they literally beat majority of the teams they beat was all in the top 10. Like they beat majority of the top 10. I think it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 10 or something like some crazy shit. But LSU was like they had their years where they'll, you know, seem like the top hitter and stuff or one of the top hitters. But it's like people use the excuse like, oh, they beat each other up. I said I get it, but then you have some years where just like this past year, LSU they lost to USC. They was favored. So them non-conference games they count, and also too, I should tell people this all the time. Why is it excused that a lot of these SEC teams play these sorry cupcakes? You know why they do that? Because first of all, not everybody's Bama, not everybody's Georgia, not everybody. You know, really them two teams. Like the last 10 years, really been them two teams. They're not them. They could have Georgia and Alabama. They can have a sorry non-conference schedule because they very overpowered, and we seen them when they schedule top teams. They blow them out the water. Like Georgia blew out Clemson out the water this past year, but they also beat them the few years before. It was a close game, but they beat them, and I feel like they out physical them. Bama be playing USC and some of them teams, and they blow them up. But it's levels. And that's what I was trying to explain to my homeboy, even other people that I know. Like, there is levels. Don't group, don't don't try to group a whole like SEC when you really only talking about maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4 teams at the most. And after them 2 teams, 3 to 5 always shuffle. Like you always gonna get like an LSU one year. You always gonna get like a random Ole Miss one. Like you always gonna get like a good SEC team that was either mid to or had high potential, and they took advantage of either Georgia or Bama down. So that's my argument. You get what I'm saying? Like it is top heavy. Like compared to the Big Ten, even before these additions, I could say, shit. You gotta talk about Michigan. You gotta talk about Penn State. You gotta talk about Wisconsin. You gotta talk about shit. You got who else you gotta talk about? Like it's 3 teams automatically right there. That's like legit. Penn State always win. They always finish in the top 10 every year. Oh, and Ohio State, that's 4 teams. Then, then that's when you be like, all right, Minnesota, they be random. They come out, some seasons. Iowa, you know what I'm saying? Who else? Who else in the Big Ten? That always be Michigan State. That's why I told y'all them teams that I told y'all that's like they're always going to run or could be on the run. Matter of fact, if you really look at it, the Big Ten had more got more hitters because Michigan State in the college football playoff era, I think they made it like 3 times. So it's just like you can't like say the SEC is the overall best conference. It's only because it's the best conference, only really because of 2 teams. Like, come on, y'all. That's Bama and Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Now with the additions with Texas and OU, I feel like Texas is gonna be that third team that the SEC was really looking for of consistent because LSU is not consistent. They always gonna have their down years. Florida is not consistent. They have their down years. Arkansas is not consistent. Missouri is not. Texas A&M, who we thought was gonna be the third team, them boys not consistent. So like, what I'm trying to say is the SEC is a bit overrated. I'm not gonna say they overrated like overrated, but they are a bit overrated. Like people gotta like understand like when you add the like I say the overall like just the over. For example, let's say it's like playing Monopoly, right? You look at the board, you be like, all right. You look at the different conferences. Look at the SEC. Look at the Big Ten, Big 12, Pac 12. And I'm just speaking before. I'm talking about like before all the expansions and alignments. I'm talking about like before this year. I'm talking about like the last 10 years. Besides this year, right? I mean, you gonna look at it, you be like, you know what? Um, the SEC is good. They great. Don't get me wrong, but they very top heavy. You can pick about 4 or 5 teams in the Big Ten. um, the Big 12, you could pick about 3, cause back like you had before OU. Well, I'm gonna count OU in Texas. You had Texas, you had OU, then you had a Baylor that was mostly consistent. You had a TCU, even though they had their off years, they was more consistent. Who was in the Big 12 at the time? Like it was more consistent. It was very consistent. Um, it's just like I say, like man, like I said, the SEC is top heavy. Like it's very top heavy. You talking about though, if you saying like the whole conference, like let's say for example, yeah they beat each other up, but they also got non-conference games. And let's say like the sorriest team, which is Vanderbilt, they end up being like 6-6, and like everybody else is like like they like 7, 8 games and stuff like that. Okay, it's possible. Even though y'all beat each other up, it is possible to at least have. I mean, it's 16, I think, right now. No, Yeah, 16, I think, in the SEC now. 14 or 16 teams in the SEC. I think it's 16. So let's say about 10 of them go, they go, they 500 and over. That's good. But you can also say that about the Big Ten. You can say that about, you can even talk about the ACC, about the, people gotta understand, like, the ACC may not be garbage, they really beat each other up. You get what I'm saying? Like, so it's just, we gotta end this narrative about the SEC is powerful. The main reason why the SEC been so great is because of two goddamn teams. Sometimes three, but that third, the fourth spot always rotate. So we gotta stop that, y'all. We gotta stop that. Anyway, so the last thing I want to talk about, the last subject I want to talk about for the day is that the Pac-12 is trying to come back. They're trying to make a comeback. They're trying to add what's crazy because I did this in my dynasty mode. They trying to add Boise State. We're not trying to. I think they actually applying. They adding Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno State. I know I know it's gonna get better. I know it's gonna be more teams added eventually with Oregon State and Washington State. What I'm gonna say about this is that they should have did this a long time ago. They should have did this when Utah and all them left. Cause remember, college football, basketball, college sports in general is a revolving door. So I'm gonna put my 2 cents in. So for example, right, you add Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, Fresno State. You can also add You can also add in Wyoming, only because Wyoming they could show you they could be consistent. I think this year may be the worst year, they off year this year because they rebuilding, but Wyoming they showing that they can win 8 to 9, 10 games a year. So I'm gonna add Wyoming, right? So that's like 7 teams, and I may add Hawaii only because of the like where they at, with the location they at, and I always felt like it made more sense to have Hawaii in the Pacific, in the Pac-12. Like Hawaii is the definition of the Pacific. Like they literally in the Pacific, and plus it'll be better for Hawaii to go to a conference like that because I mean it kind of be like the same thing in the Mountain West, except that when you got to go to Washington State, when you got to go to Oregon State, Fresno State, of course, San Diego State. Um, it's not that far. You know what I'm saying? It's probably like 3 to 4 hours, flight. You know, um, so it makes more sense. It makes the most sense for Hawaii to go as well. But also too, I see in the comments when I seen it this morning when I woke up. What did I tell y'all last week? North Dakota State needs to go straight to like a conference like a Mountain West, not no MAC. They need to go to the Mountain West because they fit more in the Mountain West. Someone said North Dakota State, South Dakota, I think North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, and I said yes. Them 4 teams, they need to go to the Mountain West. It's always gonna be revolving. It's gonna be a revolving door in the conference. I won't be surprised in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm not even gonna say 10. In the next 3 to 5 years, that we're gonna end up being like the college basketball, and we end up having like over 200 teams in D1. Like I'm not talking about FC. I'm talking about FBS. Like over 200 teams. Reason being is because people want money. People have money. Population is growing. Some of these areas that we usually don't talk about, they're growing. Like a state like Idaho, they're growing. A state like Wyoming, they're growing because of like everything's just changing right now. You know what I'm saying? So is I wouldn't be surprised in 3 to 5 years that even Nevada or UNLV go to the Pac-12. Which that should they should do that because Vegas and Reno, those are great markets. You know what I'm saying? They are great underrated markets, especially Vegas. Vegas to me is going to be like the New York of the West Coast. Well, not New York of the West Coast, 'cause that's LA. But they're going to be like, who I compare them to? They're going to be kind of like, I can't even compare them to Miami because Vegas is going to be like if Dallas and Chicago made a baby, but in the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? They have, I'm sorry, y'all, they have the population, they have the market, because now that you have the football team, you're going to have the basketball team, you're going to have the baseball team, and you got the hockey team already. You add that, then you got all this stuff going on, and then you have UNLV in the Pac-12. Come on, man, that's going to set recruits on fire, man. So if I'm the Pac-12, I'll try to add in the next 3 years. I'll try to add, of course, Boise State, Colorado State, um, San Diego State, and Fresno State. All right, cool, love y'all. But I will try to add Nevada. I'll try to add UNLV. I'll try to add Wyoming, and I'll try to add Hawaii. And then Oregon State, Washington State. That'd be beautiful for y'all because y'all people look at like the schools, how like, oh, the school's small. First of all, the schools ain't gonna be small for long because now they gonna be more national. Like more people gonna watch them even more now, and they gonna have more chances to go to the playoffs even more. These schools are gonna they are gonna grow. Like matter of fact, Boise State is a perfect example. Boise State used to be a small school. Now they one of the biggest schools in the group of five now because of their success of their football and also their basketball team did okay the last couple years, but it's really the football team. Um, and then if you even look at like a UNLV, they always good in basketball, but their football team is becoming, they growing stronger because of NILs because they're in Vegas. So yeah, man, that's my my 2 cents about the Pac-12. My preview and recap for last week and this week. Oh, and the Dolphins play the Bills this week. Like I said, I like the Dolphins to win 24-17 or 24-20. It's gonna be a good game, tight game. It could be a high scoring game. But I like the Dolphins to win 24-20. It's gonna be a great game. Thursday night on Amazon Prime. Also, too, the unfortunate incident that happened with Tyreek Hill. That shit is unfortunate. Um, I feel like it's a lot of opinions on this matter. For me, at first, I was like Tyreek was wrong in terms of like how he reacted. To me, he is still kind of wrong. He's kind of wrong, but we do have our rights. If I don't want to roll my window down, I shouldn't have to roll my window down. And how the cops handle it, it was embarrassing, man. Like I'm from Miami-Dade County, like we all know about how cops how they are, but where I'm from, like it's not all of them that's like that. I know a few cool cops. That's very cool. I know people personally who work for Dade and Broward and all that, and it's embarrassing. From what I seen, I think that group of people, one of them like resigned or got fired, which is great because like, come on, bro, like that was just crazy. Like you got the man in the headlock. The man telling you like he just did surgery on his knee. Like we gotta stop this, man. It don't matter if it's a famous person or a regular person. This gotta stop. Like this thing with these police officers and thinking they got all the power in the world, and shout out to my uncle Shannon. He had his own thing going on this week. I ain't gonna really talk about it. I'm probably gonna wait till it die down. And I'm gonna talk more about it in the next episode. But when one thing I have to disagree with my uncle Shannon is that I don't look at nobody as God. First of all, like there's only one God. But two, like especially cops, like it's just it's I just hate it, like how like you know you gotta be a certain way when you see like law enforcement and stuff because they got the guns, they got this, they got that. But I'm like, when I was younger, I had some experience about that as well, like with cops and everything. And I'll talk more about it next week as well because I know it's gonna be an ongoing situation. But long story short, um, I just feel like we need to do better. Like this is even going back to like politics, and I don't really like talking about politics on my podcast. Only if somebody want to talk about it, or if I invite a politician, which I'm thinking about doing as well. But long story short, this is why it's very important to vote locally. It's very important to vote, you know, within your community. Yes, nationally with the president, the president stuff going on, the housing, the Senate and all that stuff, the Congress and all that. That's very important on the federal level. But I tell people all the time, it starts at home. It starts at home. Once home is great, once home start running great, then we can focus on the state, then we can focus on the region, then we can focus on nationally. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that was a on call incident. It's crazy. I have respect for law enforcement, but for the last I don't know how long, it's been a long time. Like they even it's people like that them officers that just give bad rep for like the actual good officers. Cause I know some great officers that they look out for their community and everything, and they don't do foolishness like that. But yeah, man. So that being said, this being your boy DJ Anonymous on another episode of Sports Biz Music, the podcast. It's been different this week, but next week we gonna be back in the studio. Y'all gonna hear my drop, and we gonna talk even more. So, we out. Peace.